Hey everyone, Matt Hunter here, your host for Anarchist Revolution. So today I want to do an update video on the Justin Bourque situation, the shooter in Moncton, and I also want to talk to you guys about a few new incidences of where civilians went out and targeted government officials and police officers. So an update to the Justin Bourque situation, as many of you have already out there know, is because if you're following the story, he was arrested and apprehended alive. So he was found behind a woman's house. He left all of his weapons in the bush, and he came out with no weapons on him, unarmed, and put his hands up and said, "I'm done." So he handed himself in. He is in Moncton police custody, and he's going to be set to go to a trial, and obviously the justice system is going to determine his fate. Now, I'm curious to see how this trial plays out, what he's going to use as a defense. Is he going to just come out and say, yeah, I targeted the police? Is he going to say it was a guns right issue that he was trying to shed light to? So I'm pretty curious of what he is going to say in the matter. I know in a lot of previous shootings, referring to the ones in the States, the school shootings and stuff like that, those were not targeting government officials, and in most of those cases, a lot of those shooters were on psychiatric drugs, and their court proceedings, the James Holmes situation, he was so drugged up in court he couldn't even speak. So I'm pretty sure Justin Bourque is going to be able to speak. He seems like he's in the right state of mind, that he's, even if he was on psychiatrics, I don't think that that's going to play much of a defense, because a lot of what he did shows intent and intelligence to do so. So he's in the police custody, he was arrested, and he's going to go to trial, he's going to go to court, and we'll see how that plays out. When that trial happens, it's probably going to be a year or two down the road. New Brunswick is my previous hometown, so I'm going to probably try and get out there and cover the event, maybe sit right into the courthouse and hear how the trial plays out. So next story I want to cover with you guys is two other separate instances. One was a guy named Marks, and he attacked a courthouse. He was armed with multiple guns. He had grenades, flashbangs, explosives, and stuff like that, zip ties in his bag, a water supply. And he had court that morning in the courtroom, and he missed his court appearance and showed up an hour or so later and obviously executed this assault. No officers were killed. One officer was wounded, and they did shoot and take down the suspect, Marks, who was planning to target and take over the courthouse. Now, I've done a little bit more research into this guy as well. It turns out that he's filed multiple civil rights violations against the sheriff's department there. He's been in trouble with the law. Drug offense charges and stuff like that, basically victimless crimes, firearm charges as well. So here's another situation where I think this guy was supposed to go to court that morning, but instead made the decision that after being screwed and fucked over by the legal system, the justice system, and the corrupt-ass government his entire life, and trying to file these civil complaints and having no results and stuff like that, I guess just like Justin Bourque, he decided to retaliate against his aggressors. And he, like you said, he was killed before he got into the courthouse, before situations could escalate. But here again is another situation where the justice system and the police and the government itself screwed with the citizen too far, to a point that he made the decision to go on a rampage and try and shoot up a courthouse and police officers. This is another situation where he didn't target civilians, but the mainstream media spins that as all the civilians should be scared of this. So that was that situation. Now, the most recent one that just happened yesterday was the situation in Las Vegas, where the male and a female suspect walked up to two police officers that were eating their lunch at a pizza place and executed those two officers as well. This one, now that the evidence has come out, clearly politically motivated again. Once again, targeting police officers, although they did go into a Walmart after that. They shot those two officers and killed one civilian before taking their own lives. She shot the male, and then she finished herself out taking her own life. I got some questions around this case. One of them, I guess, is why kill the one innocent person or one civilian in Walmart? That doesn't make much sense if you originally targeted the police officers at first. So I'm curious to see why they targeted the civilians. But here's another situation where people got fed up with their aggressors, the police, the aggressors of the state, and they retaliated and then went after the police officers. Now, with my core principles, I value the non-aggression principle, as I stated in previous videos. So unless I'm aggressed upon, I don't go and retaliate. So that's not my, that's not my prerogative, or not the way I would handle things. But not all people are thinking like that, and obviously these people had enough. So this is 3 incidences in the last week or so where civilians have gone out and purposely targeted government officials and police officers to kill them. Now, a lot of the people out there who are not in the liberty movement or who doesn't follow activism and follow the type of things that I post, this is a shock to people. They're like, how could this happen? What's the world coming to? But if anyone like us or like you and me who watch these type of videos, we know that this type of stuff was bound to happen. Okay, our ancestors and our forefathers went out and shot police officers and government officials in 1776 because the British redcoats were threatening to take their guns and tax them. Okay, so if you compare in comparison to what they were willing to go out and shoot their government officials for to what the civilian population has to deal with today, where it's constantly being spied on and wiretapped, the NSA spying and watching all your phones, the government stealing your money and wealth through taxation levels higher than all previous before us, higher than the revolution period of time, rampant police brutalities, rampant killing by police, rampant corruption on all levels of corruption, whether it's the fact that they steal to fund themselves in the first place, which is an act of theft and corrupt, or whether it's the wars they wage on your taxpayer money that kills innocent people and collateral damage, or all these other things I can go on and on about, Fukushima, the justice system putting people away for victimless crimes, the war on drugs. So all these buildup of things that the government and the aggressors of the state are constantly attacking people and civilians, you are bound to get those people to retaliate at some point in time. The Las Vegas shooters are quoted as saying, now I'm not sure if this is what witnesses are telling us. I don't know if this is what the media is going with to demonize the revolution movement, but they were quoted as saying, tell the cops that this is the start of a revolution. Now, I don't think we're going to have as much effect going out and killing status people. It doesn't fall in with my moral principles and my core principles and stuff like that. So I feel if you're a dead activist, you're not getting no work done. So personally, myself, I feel that I get a lot more response and more work if I spread ideas, a message of liberty and freedom, and point out that the aggressors of the state are nothing more than aggressors. And I think that's how we're going to have true success, is by pointing out the gun in the room, which is government, and waking up our fellow man and our neighbors and our colleagues to the fact that government is just a gun pointed to your head saying, pay into the system, abide by these set rules that we determine, or you'll be caged or killed. And I think if we just constantly keep pushing out these ideas, pushing them out on social media, and we're having a huge effect. If you just 5-10 years ago talking about these things, you were labeled a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist. Now I can go to anyone on the street here in Canada and say, hey, do you know the government's corrupt? And pretty much 9 out of 10 people will at least agree, even if they're supporters of government, will agree that the system is not the way it should be. So I see the massive effects we're having. Corruption in government is public knowledge now. It's sad to say, but you probably will see more of these, people that get fed up with the judicial system and the police aggressing against them. So you probably will see more cops being killed. And it's terrible because when those type of situations happen, the cops jump on those situations and say, look, we need these tanks, we need these military armor and all these weaponry to defend ourselves against activists like that who come and target them. And it's a small minority of activists. The amount of civilians that kill police officers is handfuls. Extremely rare situations compared to the amount of police that kill civilians, which is rampant, and it's massive, the amount of incidences that I could tally of those where cops kill civilians. You're 8 times more likely to be killed by a cop than you are a terrorist. Government has killed hundreds of millions of people in the last century through democide. If you look at dictators through society, they're responsible for way more deaths than a single individual. So we need to continue pushing these facts out and pointing out the gun in the room, and touching on issues like peaceful parenting, the non-aggression principle, universalizing them in our lives. And that's how we will truly achieve a revolution, the correct way, a peaceful revolution. Because I don't want a violent revolution. I don't want to have to go lock and load my guns and defend our neighbors against the state. I don't want it to come to that. There will just be lots of bloodshed. And it's what the global elite want. They want the police officers to go against the civilians, because then they can come in afterwards, after we killed each other, and kill off the wounded and lone survivors, and bring in their reign of power. So the police are just pawns. We're pawns. They want to clash us against each other. Don't fall for it. Police officers out there watching this, honor your oaths. Get out of the profession. Back in the day, you could say that, I'm trying to be a police officer to do better. Well, just like the justice system, the whole profession has become so corrupt, and it demands you write tickets for victimless crimes, that anyone that's a police officer now and who values liberty and freedom, I suggest you just look for a new job opportunity. It may be hard, it may be difficult, it may be taking food from your table, but hey, at least you're not going to be going down as history on side of the state, collecting a paycheck, knowing how evil that paycheck represents stolen money from the population. So, let's keep spreading these messages. Let's get the word out there. Let's wake up activists, and let's turbocharge this movement. And it's very simple. We only need to abide by 2 rules. 2 rules could govern this entire world. And anarchy does not mean no rules, it means no rulers. We still have rules. The anarchy follows 2 basic principles that could run this entire world. 1, the non-aggression principle. If you aggress against another person, they have the right to aggress against you. So, that covers pretty much everything. Just don't aggress. If you're not aggressing against me, everything's fine. And rule number 2, the respect for property rights. So the non-aggression principle and the respect for property rights could govern our entire world. That's the only 2 rules we need to follow, instead of the stack of rules that our justice system has now stating that we have to follow. So let's get back to simplifying laws, simplifying society, instead of making it more complicated for people to understand, and people get caught up in the justice system not even knowing that they broke laws. Non-aggression principle, respect for property rights, anarchy is the solution. I'm your host for Anarchist Revolution, Matt Hunter, signing off.